Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. It's match day, but it's not match day right now. Well, it is. It's match day tonight. But big transfer news this Sunday morning. David De Gea forced out of Manchester United. Juan Mata going to stay. A second transfer bid for Dembele. Pogba, talks about Pogba from Romano and Ollie, updates on Pogba. Ollie talking about transfer strategy as well. And Mata staying, as I've said. Aguero to Manchester United, Ollie talking about that. Centre defensive midfield update from Fabrizio Romano. So much to talk about this morning, absolutely loads. But we're going to start off with, and some really big topics as well. The things that Ollie said, the things Romano has said, the things that have been said about Juan Mata. But I'm going to start off with David De Gea. It's the big story. David De Gea forced out of Manchester United. Now, this story is coming from the Mirror, but I'm going to expand it beyond that. I'll tell you what the Mirror are saying. They're saying that David De Gea will be sold this summer by Manchester United. Henderson's going to be the goalkeeper and they want De Gea out. That's the story. Do I necessarily believe it? Not necessarily, because what Fabrizio Romano has said is it depends if any offers come in for David De Gea. But I think what is happening is being forced out of the club. That doesn't mean he's transfer listed. That doesn't mean he's being sold, but he is being forced out of the club. 100%. Some people think I don't rate Dean Henderson. Don't give a shit what you think. I know what I think. I think people who watch the channel know what I think. I do prefer De Gea, but Henderson's a fantastic goalkeeper. Where I come in here and get passionate is I don't like the media targeting our football club and our players. I don't like it. I didn't like the Harry Maguire thing in the summer. People think I don't rate Harry Maguire. I do not rate Harry Maguire with Lindelof, but I've always said Harry Maguire with Bailly or a better centre-back, I would build my defence around Harry Maguire. I didn't like what the media tried to do in the summer with Harry Maguire in Greece, and the videos are there where I stood by him. I don't like what the media does with Paul Pogba. I accept he's inconsistent, but I don't like how he gets targeted. I don't like it with Martial either. I don't like the way Bruno gets treated, and I certainly don't like the way the media have driven this against David De Gea. I think there is a media bias, and I think what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said in his press conference on Friday, I stand firmly behind. There is a narrative in the media where they're trying to create tension within our football club, and that's 100% what's happened with David De Gea. They're forcing him out. This is the media taking control of Manchester United fans and Manchester United Football Club and trying to manoeuvre something for what they want. It's a media bias and I don't like it. And I will stick up for Man United players who get treated like that. To be honest with you, if there's a story tomorrow about Scott McTominay and they're trying to have a go at him, I'll stick up for McTominay, because to me that's what being a United fan is. It's a siege mentality. All right, they might be problematic, they might be crap, they might not be playing well, they might not be good enough, but when the media go for them, they're our players. They're our players. We will talk about our players. We will say if our player isn't good enough and they should be sold. But you're not driving the agenda against our players. And I don't like it, whoever it is. And I've seen this for weeks with David De Gea. It's a media-driven thing to force David De Gea out of our football club and to try and get the club to do it because they want Henderson in goal. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and accept that. What I will say is, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer decides that Dean Henderson is the future of Manchester United and David De Gea isn't, I'm going to have to accept that. And I will accept that. But I feel that we are being... I think that David De Gea's reputation is being destroyed by the media. We see it on Sky and we see it on BT. Every game they're showing little clips. And I watch United with all of you, and I know that David De Gea hasn't had a bad season. I know that David De Gea has not been a problem this season. He's not. He just simply hasn't. You might decide that you want Henderson in goal, that's fine. But to try and manipulate this and make out that David De Gea is a huge problem, let's get him out of the club. He's not. He simply isn't. This is not even in the top 5 issues at the football club at the moment. And yet it's become, frustratingly, one of the biggest talked things because this is what the media wants. I want us to be talking about the midfield. I want us to be talking about centre-back. I want us to be talking about right wing. I want us to be talking about playing good football instead of playing part of the bus football. We're talking about 2 very good goalkeepers and an agenda to force out a United great. And I don't like that. I don't. This should be parked until the summer. This should be left until the summer. But we're not. We're talking about De Gea every frigging day. And he doesn't deserve that. I think about David De Gea and I think about many good performances, but that one against Arsenal where they were absolutely melting down because we beat them and basically David De Gea was unstoppable. I mean, he's only 30 years of age. He's not done. I still believe that David De Gea is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, who, yes, admittedly, over the last couple of years, it's been a little bit inconsistent, but I still believe we've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And to throw that out the door is, in my opinion, a mistake. But something has to be done in the summer, but it must be Solskjaer's decision. And this must be kept quiet until the summer. We should not be allowing the media to drive this through. But look, interestingly, the De Gea story is simply ridiculous, as he's done nothing wrong this season, yet people want him gone to make Henderson number one. He deserves respect, says Salah Ahmed. Mark, it's an absolute disgrace that a club legend is being forced out by a biased media for some two-bit keeper who shouts at people. The British bias is unreal, says Michael Peralta. Look, this is the danger. This is exactly the danger. It should not be about Henderson or De Gea. They're both very, very good goalkeepers, and a fair decision needs to be made. But Ollie's right, I'm right, and some of you are right. What is happening? The media don't give a fuck about Manchester United. They don't give a shit. They are creating, like Ollie said, a media-driven division in our fan base because it creates a story. And what happens? You've got some people who say Henderson's shit. You've got some people saying De Gea's shit. They're both our goalkeepers. They're both going to play this week. One will play today and one will play on Thursday. I want them to do well, and I want a fair decision to be made in the summer. I don't want us to be talking about this now because it disrupts us and it creates a division. And we've got too many divisions in our fan base. Personally, I think what's happening here is it's another example of Manchester United's incompetence when it comes to player recruitment, contract renewals, and selling players. I think, listen to what Fabrizio Romano said. He said last night, it depends if any offers come in for David De Gea. This morning, there is a story in the British press about David De Gea being for sale. I think United are trying to put it out there that David De Gea is for sale because they want to offload him. Why do they want to offload him? Because they messed up again. They gave him a 5-year deal on 350k a week, and then last year, they gave another goalkeeper a 5-year deal on 140k a week. We're paying £500,000 a week to two goalkeepers. That is ridiculous. Who signs these deals off? Like, they've created this division. The media can push it and the fans can get frustrated with it, but Manchester United Football Club have created this idiotic situation where we're paying £500,000 to two goalkeepers. What other club in the world does that? It's ridiculous. I said this last summer and many of you agreed. Gary Neville said it as well. They've created a situation here that is not good. This is inevitable. This is like putting your foot down and driving towards a brick wall with no brakes. You're going to crash. It's going to happen. And what Manchester United have done is they've created this situation and they've got no idea how to get out of it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe in the absence of, I don't think this is true, but maybe this story about David De Gea being for sale is to try and generate some interest. And then Romano's saying, it depends if any offers come in. But I tell you what, offloading a goalkeeper on 350k a week, who is worth £50 million, good luck. Good luck with that in any market, let alone the COVID market. So I think that this is going to continue, unfortunately. And I think it's a real big shame because I think underneath all of this, you've got a young Manchester United goalkeeper who can definitely be England's number one. And then you've got another Manchester United goalkeeper who's in his prime years, who has done nothing wrong, who is a United great for me. He's won numerous Player of the Year awards. He's not finished. He's not retiring. He's not coming towards the end of his career. He's 30 years of age. Goalkeepers are in their prime for all of their 30s. And we've got a decision to make. And I personally would love to see it get parked until the summer because I want to focus on tonight against Brighton and Thursday against Granada. And I think we'll have one goalkeeper in one in the other. And I'm happy with that. And I actually don't want to see either of them making mistakes and being forced out of the team, because I think if one of them's going to go, you want them both to be playing well to the end of the season so that somebody does come in and buy them. And if Henderson's the number one goalkeeper next year and David De Gea leaves, we deal with that. But what we're dealing with here is a media-driven agenda to create division in our football club. And I will stand by the United player in most circumstances in that situation because it's wrong. I don't like the victimisation of any of our players when it's unfair. And I think it's an unfair victimisation of David De Gea being driven by the media. Some of our ex-players who are entitled to their opinion, but as ex-players should also know what it's like. A bit of loyalty to your players in that situation when it's unfair would be nice. But look, maybe I'm dreaming. They say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Mark, did you see the fear in the eyes of the Milan players when Pogba came on the other week? When we could potentially lose him and David De Gea this summer, two European heavyweights who gave us status, says Nick P. Well, look, in relation to David De Gea, that you've got one example of United giving a massive contract and then how you're going to remove him. It's going to be a very, very costly error. And we did that with Alexis Sanchez. But then there's another story this morning saying that we're going to keep Juan Mata for another year. Look, we all love Juan Mata. But this, to me, you know what this is Manchester United. I mean, what has Juan Mata done this season? I mean, to be honest, what's Juan Mata done in the last 3 years? Seriously, what did he do to justify the last contract we're giving him? Why would you give him another year? Like, this to me is a total and utter waste of time. You've got Van der Beek, who can't get any game time. You've got Hannibal coming through. You've got Shora Tire. You've got Amad Diallo. You've got other young players. And then you've got Juan Mata on 140k a week, who, if he stays for 140k a week, you've got to put him on the bench every week. That is just blocking off progress. And I'm fed up of us doing this. But you know why I think we do it? It's like, I'm sure you've all been in this situation if you're of a certain age. You get house insurance and it automatically renews every year. And you just don't, many of us can't be asked to check it and see if we can get a better deal. So we just keep it. Because it's easier just to keep it because it's one less job to do. And I think with Mata and Matic, we may well see that again, where we've got so much other things to do. Let's just renew the contract. Then it's not a problem we've got to deal with. Even though you'll save money by removing the 140k a week, and we don't necessarily need to buy anybody because basically Juan Mata is playing about as many games as you'd expect as a youth prospect anyway. He doesn't start. He barely makes the bench. He basically is a youth player spot. If you remove Juan Mata on 140k a week and give that spot to Hannibal, you haven't spent any money and you've saved yourself 140k. It's just so illogical why we keep these deadwood players at the club. For what? Like, I would love it if Juan Mata was contributing, but I watched him play against Leicester on the opening game at Old Trafford 3 years ago and he got absolutely toasted by Chilwell and he ain't got any better since then. He offers very little. Didn't he play against Watford or something like that in January? Watford, a championship side, and he's not conducting the game. And yet we're going to pay 140k a week for that. I think that this is one of the most frustrating things about this club is that they just, they sell themselves as a business, but they don't make business decisions and they don't make footballing decisions, and you end up in this frustrating situation where the previous person's spot on. You could lose iconic players such as David De Gea and Paul Pogba this summer and end up keeping Mata and Matic, and you're like, you've just lost two really good players and you're retaining two bit part players. Like, how is that progress? How are we really closing the gap on somebody? Pep Guardiola, he's going for a winter walk and he's got holes in his wellies. He's got 3 new pairs, different colours for different moods. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's there walking out in his bloody holy wellies, and it's not because he's religious, it's because they've got holes in them. And Pep's like, look at me, and Ollie's like, I'm trying to catch you up, running through puddles, getting my feet wet. It's just not the way to run a football club, in my opinion. But, we've all got our own opinions. But look, I mean, whatever about David De Gea, I think it's appalling the way the media are treating him, and it just shows you what you need to know about the British media is that they will build somebody up and they will knock them down. One day you're cock of the walk, and the next day you're cockhead, and that's it. And that's how they treat you. I've seen it over the years. It's happened with Giggs. It's happened with Gascoigne. It's happened with Rooney. We've seen it happen with Greenwood. It doesn't matter. They will go for you because that's the way it is. This is where City does better business. Look how they eased out Toure, Company, Silva and Aguero, says Tatia. Mate, you're absolutely spot on. What a great point. Manchester City are removing Aguero from their club this summer, who's 32 and would probably be top scorer for most teams in the Premier League. If he goes to La Liga, he can play for Barcelona easily and score goals. City are moving him out. He's literally like, he's like a loaf of bread that you buy from Tesco that's, you buy it on the Monday, its sell-by date is the Friday, and Pep's selling it on the Thursday. It's not even out of date yet. And yet United's bread it's the following Wednesday. It's gone past its sell-by date 5 days ago, and we're still putting it in the toast and eating it. And that's the difference, is that Man City are ruthless on every single level. And I think when Man City were formed in 2008, they looked at United and they wanted to be like us, and they implemented a lot of what we did under Sir Alex.
But we haven't done that for a long time, and they've kept doing new things. We need to look at what Man City does. As embarrassing as that is, yes, they're funded by oil money, of course they are, but the way they are structured, you can't knock it. It's not oil money that makes Pep think, let's get rid of Aguero and get somebody else in. It's not oil money that's restructured that football club around their youth setup and their recruitment and their scouting. It's efficiency. And that's exactly right. City are going to remove Aguero when he's barely, he's still got good years left in him. United are renewing contracts for Juan Mata, who's not been good for 3 years. For Nemanja Matic, who's been on the wane for a year. If De Gea, Matic and Pogba are gone this summer, you want someone older like Mata at the club, says Ingave. Why? Why do you need that? Mata's not playing, mate. So why? To stand in the dressing room and tell us some stories about what it was like to win the World Cup? No, you don't need that experience. We've got Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is the leader of that dressing room. We don't need to keep old-timers to tell stories. We don't. It's ruthless, I know, but it's true. People forget that our wages aren't normal. Teams that won big trophies lately have nothing near our wage bill. Overpay mediocrity won't buy what we need, says Jake Marshall. Bruno for number 7 deserves for sure. Leader stops unproven signings, taking it with added pressure. Reward for Bruno too, says Max Gilbert. I don't know whether Bruno would want the number 7 shirt, to be honest with you, but we'll have to see. So yeah, that's Mata. There's also I've got lots to get through. Just on Aguero, by the way, big shout out to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was asked about the Aguero rumours about leaving, and spot on, exactly what many of you were saying. We were talking about this the other day, and what he's basically said about Aguero is that I don't agree with players that have played for your big rivals for 10 years to come to your club. Others might think so, not for me. I haven't agreed with it in the past. I'm not going to name players, but I think you know who I mean. But basically, no way is Aguero coming to Manchester United. And spot on. Ollie gets a lot of criticism, but I think we're on the same page on 2 things here this morning. 1, you don't buy bloody legends of your rivals. And 2, the De Gea thing is 100% a narrative in the media created to create division in the football club. And I'm glad that many United fans are waking up to this. Do not allow this driven media agenda around our goalkeepers to make you pick sides. Don't do it because they've won. Don't go Team De Gea or Team Henderson. Just see the situation for what it is. It's an agenda driven to create division within our fan base. Henderson's going to play in the Cup. David De Gea is going to play in the league. Ollie's going to make a decision in the summer. End of story. Don't need to hear about it anymore. Back Henderson, back De Gea. Let's see what happens in the summer. But going Team De Gea or going Team Henderson now, you're giving the media what they want, and they'll keep fanning the flames. They'll keep pouring petrol on the flames because they'll keep making it burn and burn and burn because that's what they want. They want that division. And what they really, really want, David De Gea to make a mistake today. They really want that because then they're like, we're right. Notice when Henderson made the mistake against the AC Milan, hardly anything written about it. Oh, it happens. They want to create building it. I think Henderson's got a great future, and I think David De Gea has a great future. Where those futures are going to be, that's for Ollie to decide. But I refuse to get drawn into this situation anymore because it does us no good. But they're absolutely obsessed with it. And, it goes back to my frustration in the press conference the other day. 3 questions on David De Gea and Dean Henderson in the press conference on Friday. No questions about our crap midfield. No questions about why we're playing crap football. No questions about our back 6 playing deep to protect our centre-backs. You never get those because it doesn't suit the agenda, does it? Mark, it's my birthday. Can you wish me a happy birthday? I've been watching for a while, says Girish. Happy birthday to Girish. Can't wait for your reaction to us selling Pogba and De Gea and signing Ben White and Aguero on a free, says Ethan Foster. Yeah, I can't wait for that. The club bought in on themselves with the De Gea and Henderson situation, giving them a new deal. Well, I said that, Philip Burton Wood. I agree with you. I mean, I know a lot of you were quite excited about it, but what type of incompetent football club gives one contract for 350k a week for 5 years and then gives another one to another goalkeeper for 140k a week for 5 years? And you can only play one goalkeeper. I mean, it's just idiotic on another level. But, I genuinely question, without any hysterical feeling or anything, I think we could all write a book on numerous questionable business decisions made by the board of this football club who think they're doing a great job. Well, you need to do something about your perception because, I mean, there's so many things. Contracts, wages, renewals, recruitments, sales. I mean, there's chapters. I mean, you could almost write the incompetence of Manchester United's board over the last 8 years. I need to shorten that down, load of shite. But it is. And you'd have sections on contract renewals, Jones, Pereira, sales. You know, that ridiculous summer under Van Gaal when we sold Van Persie, Hernandez, Johnny Evans, Nani, and I think Raphael for under 15 million. Just mad. Absolutely crazy. You know, missing out on people like Haaland and Sancho and Bellingham, and, you know, giving out contract renewals to people like Mata and Matic. It's just, it's relentless. The Henderson De Gea thing, relentless. And that's just off the top of my head. There's loads. Mark, City let David Silva go, Company and Aguero leave. They are ruthless, and that is why they're more successful than us, says Ashik. Well, we'll see what happens on that anyway. Ousmane Dembele, Spanish reports talking about Manchester United and Juventus being in for Ousmane Dembele. Second transfer bid for him then, potentially. It's funny, I was in a bit of a chat group this morning talking about Ousmane Dembele. And I think, in fairness, I mean, what I would say is Ousmane Dembele is a very good footballer. I wouldn't call him a great player because I don't think he's got the CV to be called great. Depends what you class as great, but very, very good player, very, very talented. Still in his, you know, sort of approaching his mid-20s, but still his early 20s. And the conversation I was having this morning was that I wouldn't go near him. Call 999 if you want an ambulance, because he's an accident waiting to happen. I don't want him at United. But I had people saying, oh no, you know what, he's had his best season in ages, he's not getting injured anymore. And I said, he literally got injured in December with a hamstring injury. He's got hamstrings like breadsticks, and I wouldn't go near him. I don't care. I actually don't really care how good he is. He could be the next Messi. I wouldn't want him at United, because to me it's like, you know, on the first page of a story and it says at the end, I get stabbed and die, or whatever like that, or I, you know, fall off a cliff, or I lose all my money and I'm living in poverty, right? Why would I read the rest of the story when I know what the last page is going to be about? And I think with Dembele or any, you know, Bailly, Phil Jones, I know the end of this story, so why take a risk in reading it? Like, he's got ridiculously big issues with his hamstrings. He ain't going to come to Man United or Juventus and for the next 5 years be player of the year and play 80% of our season. He's going to come in, look really good when he plays for 5 games, and then be out for a month with a hamstring injury. That's not what we need. We're talking about closing gaps on Liverpool and Man City. To close gaps, you need good players on the pitch for most of the season. And injury records are really important. So, look, I hope United aren't looking at him, because I think they've made these sort of mistakes before. As we've seen with Cavani this year, with Falcao a few years ago, with Eric Bailly, with Dalot. We bought players with very, very clear injury issues, and they had injury issues. So I like Dembele as a player, but for me it's a big, big no because of his injury record, which, to be honest with you, it's not a shock if he comes to the club and misses half a season injured, because that's what he's got an issue with. Also, I think the Premier League is far more demanding than La Liga in relation to body demanding. I think it's a far more physical and intense league. I'm not saying it's technically better. Obviously it is at the moment, but it's more demanding. Injury-prone players are always a bad option, says Joshua Harper. They try to preserve their body, so don't push themselves as much as players who aren't injury-prone. And that's very, very true. I mean, look, if you ever want to know any issues about injuries, it's well worth reading some of Ryan Giggs' stories. Ryan Giggs had major problems. Funnily enough, Ryan Giggs had major problems with his hamstring. And if I remember, it was something to do with the way he ran. And I think it was in his late or mid-20s. He was getting these issues with his hamstrings and basically had to learn to run again. Now, what I mean by that is he was getting so many issues with his hamstrings that they taught him to run in a different way and never at 100%. So he sort of learned to sprint at 80%. Which must be really weird. I just run. You know, if a polar bear's chasing me, I'm sprinting. I can't sprint at 80%. But he learned, and he did yoga and everything like that. But he had to learn in a different way, which is basically what Joshua was saying. You can't go full pelt when you've got certain injuries, because if you're injury prone, you're going to cause those problems. If you notice, most people when they pull up with a hamstring, it will be straight after they've really gone for it. They've really sprinted. And Ryan Giggs had to adjust the way he was running because of those problems. I wouldn't go near Dembele. We've spoken about Aguero, spoke about Mata, spoken about De Gea. Let's just talk about Fabrizio Romano. He's doing a little bit of a Q&A last night. A few updates on Manchester United. The first one was one I've spoken about. about David De Gea, saying it depends what options there are there. I think United are, or somebody, or the media, sorry, are trying to generate interest about David De Gea. It's very, very clear that they're trying to. I think to be fair, De Gea is the one that United are trying to sell. I put my hands up to that. Do I agree with it? I mean, surprisingly, I don't massively disagree with it. I'm Team De Gea. If I have to pick a side, I'm Team De Gea. But I can see the value in Dean Henderson, definitely. He's a young goalkeeper. Do I think he's as good as everybody thinks? No. I think that would be ridiculous. Like, you know, David De Gea's got the better CV, and I think he's the better goalkeeper. The problem is Henderson going to be the better goalkeeper in 4 years, 3 years? You know, there's a very good chance of that. And that's what you're gambling on. So I get that. I haven't really got a problem. I think we've got two great goalkeepers. I also think what people probably aren't factoring into this, I think Harry Maguire's got a big say in this. Harry Maguire has been vulnerable in the penalty box with his defence. I'm not talking about him specially, but how many goals have we conceded from corners this season? Now, I don't think any of those goals are on David De Gea, but I think if you're Harry Maguire, he wants Dean Henderson because he knows Dean Henderson will come out and try and catch the ball. Now, that to De Gea, that to Maguire is like, well, that makes my job easier. So I think, and also he's English. You know, maybe that's, you know, relationship. I don't know. So I think there might be something to do with Maguire here, because Maguire's the captain and he's the boss of that. He's the boss of the defence. You know that. He says, you know, if my left back's playing well, I'm playing well. So he will have a huge say in that goalkeeper. And it goes back to what Jay said on the show a couple of weeks ago. You know, Harry Maguire is the hill that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have to die on in relation to his career. Doesn't mean he will, but he's going to have to go to war on that hill, which is Harry Maguire. And I said it a few weeks ago as well. Harry Maguire is the sword that Ole will have to fall on if it goes wrong. He has to go with Maguire. I get this. I understand this. He spent £80 million on him. It's his captain. He's got to go with him. No matter what performances he puts in, no matter what goes on in the media, he's got to go with his captain and his centre-back. And what his captain says to him is probably, I want Dean Henderson in goal. I would presume. Also, I think he says, I want to play with Lindelof instead of Eric Bailly because the evidence is there. You know, why else would Ole keep picking Maguire and Lindelof when it's very obvious to everybody that Maguire and Bailly is the best partnership? And I've said this many times. Why is Harry Maguire not knocking on Ole's door and saying, I'm a better player when I play with Bailly? He obviously prefers playing with Lindelof. So I think that's a factor in this as well. There are risks. Now, Henderson's not played for Manchester United in many big games. He's certainly not played in front of 75,000 for Manchester United. That, you know, he's used to playing for a team that gets a lot of shots against them, like Sheffield United. And as we saw against AC Milan, you know, that one chance you need him to save at the end, he didn't. But I think with Henderson, it's the potential to be the best goalkeeper in maybe the world. Whereas with De Gea, can he be the best goalkeeper in the world again? It's a tough decision. But as I said, I think it's looking like United are trying to generate interest around De Gea more than they're trying to generate interest around Henderson, which is interesting because I think Henderson is the easiest one to sell and get good money for because of De Gea's wages. But we'll see on that. And Romano said it depends if any offers come in. On Paul Pogba, Romano said, look, it depends on offers that come in. So very, very similar situation. Gavin says we signed Van Nistelrooy after he just tore his ACL. Look how that turned out. It can work out sometimes. Yeah, I mean, of course it can, Gavin. But we wouldn't have signed Van Nistelrooy if he'd had 5 ACL injuries, would we? And Dembele's had numerous hamstring injuries. So you're right. Injury-prone players can not have injury problems in the future. But we're talking about consistent hamstring issues here with Dembele. We're not talking about one-off injuries. Yes, Mark, will you be going to Old Trafford when it's back open? Says Ethan. Yep, can't wait. Is there anything else we can do to accommodate Maguire? A third defender just behind him to mop up. Maybe someone in the canteen helping him eat. Nick. Will Ollie's choice be De Gea or Henderson today? Says Salah. It's got to be De Gea. It's got to be De Gea. You know what? I refuse to get into this situation, but if Ollie goes with Henderson today, I will be fuming. Because I think that's throwing De Gea under the bus and he doesn't need to do it. I think De Gea deserves to start today. You go with De Gea in goal for the Premier League and you go with Henderson in goal for the Europa League. And as I've said, you do that out of fairness because De Gea's done nothing wrong and doesn't deserve to be dropped. And Henderson is the goalkeeper in the Cup, and that fairness should continue to the end of the season. You started the season with that. De Gea did nothing wrong and he still had to let Henderson play in the Cup games. So now you're going to drop De Gea, who was man of the match against Chelsea and went to see his son born, because you're going to go with Henderson. It would be totally unfair. And also, it would be stupid, Because if you're trying to sell De Gea, don't bloody drop him in front of the rest of the world. So I would be fuming, but I think it will be De Gea anyway. But you never know. You never know. Dino is the future, but yeah, not now. The future's not now. The future's next season. We've got to protect both of those players' values because in the summer, we've got to try and sell one of them. So you don't start making future plans 8 weeks out from the summer transfer window. It would be ridiculously naive. On Pogba, Fabrizio Romano said it depends on offers, which it does. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was speaking last night. Well, it wasn't last night. It was in an article last night, and he said, in relation to Pogba, Pogba knows what we want. This you could take as a good or a bad thing. Romano saying, well, it's about what offers come in for Paul Pogba. Ole saying, Pogba knows what we want in relation to a new contract. United want Pogba to sign a new contract, and Pogba wants to go. This is United, unfortunately, bending down on knees, praying for Paul Pogba to stay at the club. That's what's happening. Now, some people will agree with that, some people won't. But my issue with it is, I don't want Pogba to go, but I only want him to stay if he wants to be at the club. This scenario, which we know, and Romano is right, and the article from Ollie is right, United want him to stay, Pogba wants to go, it depends what offers come in the summer. And the offers won't come in until the summer, and they probably won't come in until after the Euros, depending on how Pogba does over the next 2 months and in the Euros. So basically, Pogba is dangling the fruits in front of Manchester United as I might stay, but also dangling it in front of PSG and Real Madrid and Juventus and saying I really want to go, but if you don't go, I'm going to go back to United. So the problem then reigns is what we were talking about last week, is that United are not planning properly for the summer transfer window. They are basically resting their transfer window on whether Pogba changes his mind. Is that the actions of a big club, or is that the actions of a club that is in the hands of Paul Pogba and Mino Raiola? And this is why I said Mino Raiola is bigger than Manchester United at the moment. He's got Paul Pogba, he's got Erling Haaland. We would like both of them, and he can piss about with us all summer and make us end up with nothing, or both. And United really, if they want to, why are we in the hands of Mino Raiola? We should be looking at Man City and going, right, okay, Pogba's going to go, get rid of him. We're not going to get Erling Haaland. Let's look at building the future, but we're not. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager of Manchester United, saying, Paul knows what we want. Please, Paul, can you stay? And there's nothing wrong with that. I want Pogba to stay, but as a football club the size of Manchester United, is Pogba staying? Does he want to stay? No. Will he stay? Maybe, but only if he doesn't get the offers he wants. And that makes me feel a little bit sick inside. It makes me feel a bit sad inside that we're basically hands and knees waiting for Pogba to make his mind up. Now, some would say, quite rightly, well, he's a good enough player for us to have to do that. But for me, I never thought Man United would have to be in that situation. I don't think United should be, but that's how far we've fallen, that we have to beg players to stay because we've been run so badly. But I would love Pogba to change his mind, because over the next 2 months we play really good football. Starting tonight, we see Pogba. Look, you talk about the goalkeeper situation. To be honest with you, the most important thing I want to see tonight when that team news comes in at 6:30 is Paul Pogba in the midfield too. I fear we're going to see McTominay and Fred. That's the story tonight. The media want to talk about the goalkeeper. Couldn't give two shits. Really don't really care who plays in goal. The big story for me, and why it's not being spoken about in the media, I do not know. Why are they not talking about Pogba's got to play in the midfield too? We were a shambles in that Leicester game. We conceded 3 goals because of our 3 CDMs. Matic and Fred, and then McTominay came on for the third. That area is massively an issue. There should be protests outside the ground. Pogba's got to play in the midfield too. I reckon he'll be on the bloody wing tonight. That's what we should be talking about. And if Pogba plays in that midfield too, and Van der Beek gets forced into the team with Bruno as well, and we play really well over the next 2 months, we get second, we win the Europa League, we show some good football, Pogba might go, you know what, I fancy this. That's why I want Pogba to sign a new contract, not because he can't get any other offers. You're right, Mark. This is so tough between De Gea and Henderson. I don't want De Gea to go, as he's the best shot stopper I've seen, but we need to sell one. Yeah, and that's for the summer for me, Arito. It really is. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. So Romano said that about Pogba. Ollie also said, I'm not the one doing the deals, so we'll see what happens with this summer, but I'm happy with the deals we've done and we've got the players I wanted. Total and utter bollocks, but he's got to say that. Got no problem with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying that. Mourinho said it, Van Gaal said it, Moyes said it when they were at United, and then when they got the sack, they told the truth. There's no way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got all the players that he wanted. We already know he didn't. So when Solskjaer comes out and says things like, we're really happy with the recruitment that we've done, we've got the players that we wanted. Well, you didn't. You didn't get Haaland, you didn't get Sancho, you didn't get a centre-back, you got Van der Beek, he wasn't your first choice, and that's just off the top of my head again. So, but the manager's going to come out and back the board, and if you want to believe that that's true, that's up to you. He has said those words, but I think the evidence is out there that he hasn't got what he wanted at all, because last summer transfer window was an absolute shambles, as we know. If Pogba goes, do you think a midfielder of Bruno, Donny and your first choice CDM is title-winning midfield, says Ethan Reynolds? I think it's a massive improvement. I would love, for me, I think a Declan Rice, a Van der Beek and a Bruno midfield would be perfect. Absolutely perfect midfield three. The problem is, I think Rice, Pogba and Bruno would be a brilliant midfield three as well. The problem is we haven't got the CDM. And as Romano said, at the moment, there's nothing about a CDM for Manchester United. And at the moment is a concern because it's the most important position for me. Who would you sell if you were Woodward, De Gea or Henderson, or sell both for 100 million and sign Donnarumma for free? I wouldn't sign Donnarumma, Vignesh. No. Donnarumma is a Mino Raiola client. Forget that. And secondly, I don't think Donnarumma is better than David De Gea or Henderson. I think in Henderson and De Gea, we've got our goalkeeper. And you've got to make a decision. And look, sometimes in life, you've got to make a difficult decision. But that decision doesn't need to be made till the summer. And to be honest with you, I think they're so good, both of them, that it really does come down to who wants the other one. Like, if I'm sat there in the summer and I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and it's De Gea or Henderson, I'm ignoring the media because they are media bias. And I'm going to look at the situation and I'm going to go, right, I'm probably more Henderson. Or I'm probably more De Gea. But Woodward knocks on the door and he says, we've had a loan offer for David De Gea for Spain and we're going to have to pay 200 grand a week of his wages. But we've had 4 offers for Dean Henderson for 40 million. I'm going to take the 40 million. Even if I'm more Henderson, I'm still going to take the 40 million because I'm like, there's not that much between the two. And De Gea, I'm going to have to pay his wages while he's on loan. But Henderson, I can get 40 million for. And I think it's so close between the two, and there's so many pros and cons. I would go with the one that's going to bring the money in, not the one that's going to cost me money. And I think Henderson will bring the money in, and I think David De Gea will cost us money. And I think they're so close, they're so good that business has to come into it. If one was clearly better than the other, I would say, well, look, we're going to lose money loaning him out, but he's not as good as the other one. But for me, it's so close between the two. You've got to bring in the business side of things. But for me, I'm more De Gea, and look, I'm old school, so I'm going to be more De Gea. I've got, it matters to me. The United DNA, it matters to me, and David De Gea's got United DNA. So I still think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I am very protective of our foreign players because I think they get a rough ride. I think they get a rough ride from the media and some of our ex-players. I think they get treated really badly, and I think David De Gea has earned my loyalty time and time again, and he's got it. And I'm sure Henderson will learn that in the future. And I rate him. He's a good goalkeeper. But I think the media have created this division, and it's very, very sad. It really is. Also, Telles. Fabrizio Romano talking about Telles and said that Telles will stay at the club, which I think he will. He'll stay and fight for his place. The thing about Telles is that he must stay for another year. Now, I don't think Telles got called up for Brazil, did he, in the international break? Or was there nothing going on in South America? Because he's been training with United. I don't know what's happened to Telles. He was part of the Brazil squad, but I took no notice in internationals for South American clubs. And I don't know whether they had any internationals or not. But Telles has to stay at United. I'm not convinced that Luke Shaw's going to stay fit forever. I still think, and I think Luke Shaw's one of the best left-backs in the world at the moment, categorically. I think anybody who knows that. But I think that Telles is really important because there was no South American football, which is great. So he's had a week off. It was all cancelled, says Rasmus. Well, Telles gets in the Brazilian squad, doesn't he? But he won't keep getting in there as a reserve left back for United. So we've got to find a way of getting him more game time. I personally think you could play Telles as a left winger at times if you wanted to. But I also think that he will and should get more game time. And I also think that if Luke Shaw picks up an injury, which he can do, then Telles is going to play. So I think Telles has just got to be patient next year. I'd be frustrated. I think he should have played a little bit more than he has. But yeah, Telles needs to stay. I think Magaluf and McSauce will start tonight. And for the majority of the season, as Ollie wants to get second sorted, he will play Pogba on the left wing tonight, says Salah Ahmed. He will. But the big conversation will be about the goalkeeper. And as I've said so many times, do you really think about the goalkeeper situation? If it wasn't being constantly pushed down your throat by the media, would you really care about the goalkeeper situation now? Or would you be like me and think, look, we sort it out in the summer. There's way more things to important. The three most important things that bother me about United at the moment are our centre-backs, our midfield pivots, and our defensive football. Them three things are the big three for me. That's the trio. That's the three things that bother me going into this game and going into the next 8 weeks and going into the future. The goalkeeper situation doesn't bother me. It's a decision. It's a hard decision, but it's a decision. We've got two great goalkeepers. We haven't got two great centre-backs. We haven't got one great CDM. And we don't play great football. That's the three issues that bother me. And yet, we're constantly having to talk about this thing. But where does it come from? I don't see it coming from United fans. I don't see it coming from Ollie. It's the media. We're being played by the media. And it's distracting us from what really matters. What really matters is we need a great centre-back partnership, we need a great midfield partnership, and we need to play great football. And none of those things are anything to do with the goalkeeper. And yet we're talking about the goalkeeper all the time. It's ridiculous. It really is. Well, Messi says, I disagree. Ollie is the manager. Well, that might be your issue. Yeah, it's not my issue. People know it's not my issue. I'm very much... He will get a new contract. Let's see what happens over the summer. But yeah, for you, it might be. Yeah, you're not going to have the same three things as me. Of course you're not. Even if we are in the Europa League final, I want to see Dean. I want to see Dino. What about you, Mark? Oh no, Dean Henderson must play in goal for the final of the Europa League because that would be unfair on him. It's like if Henderson starts today, it's totally unfair on David De Gea. And if we get to the Europa League final, it would be totally unfair on Henderson. He's got to play in the final like we did with Romero. You know, he's the cup goalkeeper. He must play in the final. On the game tonight, my thoughts about the game tonight are very much that we need to win. I think the way the results went for us yesterday, we must win. Liverpool are closing in. Chelsea dropped points. I know if Spurs win today, they go into fourth. West Ham play tomorrow night. We've got to win. This is one of those games you tick and you say 3 points. And unfortunately, you probably tick it and say 3 points playing crap football if it takes it. But as I've said, I think there's an opportunity tonight to play Bailly with Maguire because Lindelof's been a bit injured. Pogba in the midfield pivots and even get Van der Beek to the right. And I'd love to see that trilogy of... I would pick the team that started against Everton. That's the best half an hour I've seen in England. In English football from Manchester United this season, taking away the Champions League because that's not English football. I would play Bailly and Maguire, I would play Fred and Pogba, and I would play Donny to the right with Bruno at 10, Dan James on the left if Greenwood and Rashford are injured, and Cavani up front. I would love to see that. Great show, Mark. Hope Pogba will play CM tonight, says Lando. Well, we're going to wait and see. Look, I hope you're going to have a good Easter day. Tonight we'll be live at just about 6:15, building up for the team news. Very excited to have United back. We've got to win tonight. I am really excited about these next few weeks and the summer. But you know what? There's this voice in my head saying, you know what? You've been down this road so many times. You know when you get to the end, you get into a rubbish tip. And I feel like at 6:30 tonight, a lot of the excitement I've got is unfortunately, but honestly, going to disintegrate when I see that team news. I see Lindelof and Maguire, and I see McTominay and Fred, and I see Pogba on the wing, and my heart's going to sink and go, why are we doing this, Ollie? Why are you doing it? Even as somebody that backs you, why are you doing this? You don't need to do it. We haven't got an injury crisis. You don't need to do this. But I think he will. I hope I'm wrong, but I think he will. I want to see Pogba in the midfield. And I want to see Bay playing with Maguire, but I know that won't happen. Please smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. Bottom right hand corner. Thanks for all your opinions. I know it's been pinging through there. I'm going to read the comments while I have a cup of coffee in a minute. Lots of different opinions. But for me, the sentence that I would say most important is, when it's a media-driven agenda, why is it being driven? Do we need to have a conversation about our goalkeepers, or should it be waited till the summer? Of course it should. So why are they selling this agenda? Why are they driving us apart? There's no reason to be Team De Gea. There's no reason to be Henderson. One's in the cup, one's in the league, and in the summer you sell one of them. Get behind the team, get behind the players, and give the support that they need. And I will always say that about our players. I've got no problem with United fans having a pop at players that don't perform well, but I'm not going to jump on a media-driven agenda that's trying to create division. And the reality is, they're both fantastic goalkeepers, and then they're the least of our worries. They are the least of our worries at the moment. We've got gaping holes in our team in the way we play football, and we're talking about 2 great goalkeepers. It's ridiculous. Trossard's been playing well. Need to watch out for him. And Bissouma. Keep out for Bissouma. I mean, for many reasons, keep an eye out for Bissouma, especially if we're playing McFred. If he dominates them, then maybe he's the one we can look at. Thanks everyone for watching. Much love. And I'll see you tonight for the watch along. Looking forward to it.